Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Treppenhauer, and today I'll be presenting on my proposed research design for our client, Care Connection. So to give a little bit of context, remote patient monitoring, or RPM, allows care providers to remotely track patient health metrics in real time. While this technology has been around since the 60s, the market for RPM platforms has experienced massive growth over the last few years as a result of three big changes in the industry: the improvement of software tech that's allowed for more secure data storage, the demand for telehealth services that continues to increase post-COVID, and perhaps most importantly, the 2021 Medicare amendment that massively expanded coverage for RPM services, presenting an opportunity for our client to grow their market share as millions of patients under Medicare gain access to RPM for the first time. However, like many RPM platform providers, Care Connection has majorly operated by marketing towards doctors and other health systems, not patients, meaning that direct-to-consumer is a completely new avenue for our client. In consideration of this challenge, the management decision problem facing Care Connection is the question of how they should communicate the value of their platform to create interest with their core target. Considering our client's goal of expanding into direct-to-consumer, the objective of this market research is to establish a deeper understanding of Care Connection's intended audiences when it comes to their healthcare needs. Specifically, the market research problem will inform our client's decisions by providing a more thorough understanding of their target's demographic characteristics and perceptions of RPM. These components represent the specific areas of research needed to help Care Connection make informed decisions about their direct-to-consumer communication strategy. The literature review was organized to address the main components of the MRP. In initial conversations with the client, they voiced the strong likelihood that seniors would make up this target group, mainly due to the prevalence of chronic disease in older populations. While there was some evidence to support this in the literature review, many studies indicated that the age demographics of RPM end users often exist on a range, as RPM is beneficial for many chronic conditions not exclusive to seniors. However, many of the studies that indicated this age range included RPM devices that Care Connection wasn't associated with. As such, there is a need to research the demographics of users that require devices supported by Care Connection's platform. The literature review also revealed that both millennials and Gen Xers stand to have just as much of an impact as baby boomers when it comes to driving the adoption of RPM, although for varying reasons that may allude to differential perceptions of RPM between demographics. Synthesizing these findings strongly suggests that while seniors are a key demographic for RPM, they may just be one piece of the puzzle that makes up Care Connection's core target for direct-to-consumer. The literature review revealed key areas requiring further study, which prompted the development of these three research questions. Now, I'll get to how I plan to answer each of these questions specifically, but first I wanted to touch on why I selected them and how they all fit together to support the MRP and MDP. All of these questions were designed to establish a deeper understanding of Care Connection's target audience when it comes to their healthcare needs, so that Care Connection may in turn approach their MDP with the necessary information. The first research question is an essential aspect of determining who our client's core target is, and was formed as a response to the lack of consensus in the literature. What I hope to further address with this research question are the demographics of users requiring devices specifically supported by Care Connection's platform, which should provide more precise insight into their target core. To determine this, I proposed a Qualtrics survey to collect quantitative data on age, gender, income, and other demographic characteristics of RPM users. These methodologies will also be explained further in the next section. So the second research question was developed to help inform Care Connection's communication strategy, as exploring how demographics hold differential perceptions towards RPM could help Care Connection understand how to appeal to the target group or groups identified in question 1. Investigating how these perceptions may divide by demographic might also help to understand what these groups care about when it comes to their healthcare. The survey discussed in question 1 is also proposed to collect data on the perceptions of RPM using both multiple choice and free response questions to explore these perceptions. The second method being proposed for this question are a series of semi-structured interviews to gather more in-depth reasoning behind the survey responses. Results from both these methods could then be analyzed with respect to demographics to determine how these perceptions might be divided. I was able to form two hypotheses for this question based on the synthesis of previously conducted studies from the Lit Review. The first hypothesis predicts that perceptions will be split by generation, while the second predicts this divide by income and education demographics. The final research question was formed to identify key factors considered by patients when selecting an RPM platform, as this will be critical in determining what aspects of our client's platform might be most appealing to consumers. Exploring this may also reveal areas of the client's value proposition that may be more distinct so as to stand out from competing platforms. As in the second research question, these factors will be explored through both the survey and interviews, so as to collect both quantitative and qualitative insight in these areas. The first methodology I've proposed is a Qualtrics survey. I selected this research method for its ability to collect data in a relatively short amount of time, as well as for the control that Qualtrics provides in generating large samples. Additionally, using an online survey as a methodology may make it easier to reach populations of interest than compared to similar in-person methods. I propose a study size of 500 participants randomly sampled from across the US, so as to increase my chances of statistically significant results that are also relevant to our client. In order to ensure quality control in this survey, validation processes outlined by Calling Gridge will be employed to check the survey for bias, dependability, and consistency. This process will also require that the survey is viewed by two outside parties to ensure these qualities are captured, one of whom should be an expert in question construction. Finally, results from the survey will be evaluated through statistical analyses in SPSS. The second methodology I proposed are semi-structured interviews, which I selected as a research method because the ability to clarify and follow up on responses will be critical in understanding why certain perceptions of RPM are held by consumers. In order to locate and recruit these participants, I propose the use of the platform User Interviews, which gives researchers a pool of over 2 million participants to draw from and automatically filters the sample based on your screening criteria. Once I'm able to analyze the demographic results from my Qualtrics survey, I'm hoping I can then take those demographics and input them into my screening criteria so that I can generate participants that fit those specific research parameters. I've limited the sample size to 5 participants, as it costs around $15 to recruit each one from this platform. Although, once recruited, the platform generates a link to connect with the participant and conduct the interview. To ensure quality control, I plan to use the same validation processes outlined in my survey methodology, in addition to the theme coding procedures covered in 541, so that questions, variables, and results can all be consistently interpreted. Finally, I plan to analyze these results using a combination of thematic analysis and SPSS. I anticipate this research program to need 3 to 4 weeks in order to account for question construction, review processes, data collection, and analysis of results. I believe this timeline is both within my ability and feasible with respect to program deadlines. However, I do anticipate a few challenges. Namely, I expect varying levels of participant willingness to share information about their health, which may hinder responses to questions that they might find sensitive. Secondly, despite my proposed validation processes, I'm also anticipating challenges related to coding bias, which could prevent an accurate reflection of the sample in my results. Despite these possible difficulties, I believe the proposed methodologies have a high potential to yield results that are both statistically meaningful and highly relevant to the client. The main deliverables of the proposed research program will be the demographic characteristics yielded by the survey, as well as descriptive estimates of RPM perceptions based on interpretation of the qualitative data. It's my hope that these deliverables may then be used to help form recommendations for Care Connection on how to best approach their management decision problem. Lastly, these are my qualifications as they pertain to this project. While my extensive background in research has allowed me a strong foundation going into this, I believe the greatest asset I bring to this project is my skill in statistical analysis and experience in coding practices, both of which will be essential in producing final deliverables for the client. And here are the references that I cited throughout the presentation.